Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is LK and this is Living Like LK, a series where I take your very real homes and help you uncover the potential with some realistic design suggestions, thrifted items, or DIY ideas. And in this episode, I'm working on some very different rooms that have very similar problems. They're somewhere between functional and finished, all while kind of lacking that sense of style and cohesion. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say that this episode is very special because it's in celebration of reaching 75,000 subscribers, which honestly blows my mind. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who show up every week to support this channel. It honestly means so much because quite simply, it just allows me to keep doing what I love here on YouTube, which is just at the end of the day, me experimenting with a bunch of different ways on how to create a home that feels curated for real living. I started this little series back when I hit 10,000 subscribers as just a small way to give back to you guys. And now with so many incredible submissions and hitting all of these subscriber milestones with each installment, we're finally jumping into the 4th episode of Living Like LK. And honestly, I'm just really excited to get back into it. So let's jump into the first home and see what I can come up with. Okay, so first up we have Melanie, and before I jump in, just a little tiny disclaimer. As always, this series is meant to be aspirational and not prescriptive. I don't know each person's full story, budget, or needs outside of what they tell me in their submission, but I do my best to interpret what they've shared and offer creative direction that's meant to be functional and unique for them. So with that out of the way, let's get into Melanie's submission. First, she says that she lives in a townhouse that she's renting and she can make some small changes like wall color. She's very limited on budget and basically doesn't have any, and was thinking that maybe she can spend low cost over time or like plan for bigger pieces is what I'm getting from this submission. What's challenging her, I think mainly just to begin with, is that the shape of her living and dining room is kind of like pie or fan shaped. So it feels like the living room space has about 8 different wall angles and it can be hard to design for layout. She also says that she has a child with a developmental disability and he can get quite messy, so she feels like rugs really aren't an option. And she homeschools at what looks like her dining table right next to her shelves. That's usually full of books and toys and it can end up feeling cluttered. And then lastly, she brings up a topic that I'm really passionate about and I think is so relatable that you would totally understand right when I say it. She wants the room to feel more complete. She feels like it's missing some things and she wants to know how to make a room feel finished or tips on continuing to design a room over time. And I totally relate to this, and I've even started working on another video to talk about this exact topic. So thank you, Melanie, for submitting this, and I think this will be a great video in the future because there's just so much to unpack here. But in this video, I really just want to address where she's feeling the most struggles in her living room. So as you can probably tell by looking through these photos, Melanie keeps a very tidy home. It looks great. It's super modern. It's very simple in like the best ways. It's minimal. But one thing I did pick up on is that it is mainly all IKEA items. And I know this because if you know me, I love IKEA and I absolutely love incorporating them with other vintage and antique items as well as contemporary pieces, just because I feel like they're such good functional basics. And so you can tell that potentially her chairs are maybe from IKEA. I don't think the table is in her dining area. I think that bookshelf with all of like her homeschooling stuff is from IKEA. The little Poang like recliner in the corner, and then maybe even that lamp, and then those picture shelves, maybe even some of the frames. That coffee table is definitely from IKEA, the light over her dining table, and it looks like there's some Billy bookcases here. So I think what might be going on is that the room doesn't feel personal enough. It's very curated with like one type of item. So I think the goal here is to make it feel less like a showroom and more like you individually picked all of these pieces. Now I know that IKEA has very affordable price points, but I think it's just more important to be selective about which pieces in here that are IKEA that you absolutely love and which pieces could you potentially swap out for maybe something secondhand. First, I was looking at this sofa and it feels so angular and it kind of juts out based on the shape of the room. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to incorporate a like curved sofa because it gives you that natural organic edge and doesn't feel like it's jutting out. There's a lot of different types of organically shaped sofas and curved sofas out there. I went on Facebook Marketplace just to find something affordable. As Melanie mentioned, that's something that is important to her. And I found this sofa for only 250 bucks. It's curved and it's brown and it's leather, so it would be easy to clean and hide dirt. And I think this would just help the room feel a little bit more hugged and kind of cozy and not so like there's just a random sofa there. And so of course this would depend on the actual dimensions of the sofa and her living room and whether it would fit and whether this is her taste, or you can spend some time finding something brand new that you absolutely love and then just save up for it. But you can definitely do a lot of searching for something secondhand. You just have to spend that time looking for it. And so it could easily be another 9 months before you find a sofa that's the exact color and texture and size and dimensions that that you need for your space. But if it's really worth it to you, I think you should definitely make that effort. But I think changing the sofa without changing anything else would completely change the entire vibe of the room just to begin with. So if you didn't invest anywhere else, I would maybe invest in a sofa, because it's like the biggest part of that living space where you guys probably all hang out and play or do whatever you do in a living room. And so I think a couch is really important to invest into. I think you could really open up this room and brighten it up by also potentially painting over the walls with like maybe like a pale yellow or something, just to kind of give it some brightness and warmth. And I would even paint over the ceiling and just kind of brighten it up and make it a lot more white. Your space is predominantly these really rich, warm tones like oranges and browns and reds, and a complementary color to that on the wheel is going to be blue or bluish green. It's just going to slice through all of that, like, you know, heavy earthiness and kind of give it some more levity and maybe just some more personality. And it can totally be whatever, you know, shade you want. So it could be navy blue, it could be peacock blue, it could be cobalt blue, it could be cerulean blue, whatever works for you, or even like a blue green. Just something to bring in a little bit more variation of color on the eye. I think it just allows you to feel a little bit more grounded in the space. I would also probably change out your storage unit for your homeschooling stuff. Something like this would be great because it's industrial, it's utilitarian, it's got tons of different drawers for storage, it hides everything away. Plus, I really think it leans into that modern and minimal aesthetic that you're going for. So whatever you find, whether it's something like this or something else, something with closed doors that doesn't mimic the shape of your Billy bookcase on the other side of the room, is going to be great for you to help with that clutter and also keep all of your stuff organized. I think the big challenge here is trying to find something that doesn't look exactly like the Billy bookcase. And so when you need storage, you need to like vary the different shapes and sizes of storage and also the different materiality in the room. Not everything should be made out of wood or just metal. It feels really good when you're in a room that has a mix of leather to wood to stone to cotton to metal. It just really makes a room feel kind of storied and personalized. If you wanted to just start somewhere simple, maybe with like a little DIY, I thought maybe you could bring in some more of that texture with your coffee table. You could find a piece of marble on Facebook Marketplace. Like I found this one, it's kind of like octagonal and it's got like a really nice earthy tone that I think matches the rest of your space. And you could just use some construction glue and glue it to the top of your coffee table so that your table feels a little bit more, you know, elevated and designed and unique and specific and not just so IKEA. I also think maybe parsing down on the pillows would be helpful. And if you want to keep all those, that's fine. But maybe you could swap out some of the covers with ones that aren't from IKEA, or maybe just keep like these two black lumbar pillows. I really like these ones from IKEA. I think they have like a nice kind of textured vibe to them. And then you could also put your blankets and like maybe like a fun, colorful blanket underneath the coffee table and kind of store them under there if that's possible, just to add some more color and texture. You can even put like coffee table books under there as well. Maybe storage is important to you considering you have a kid and this is a really small and awkward space. So you really want to utilize every wall as much as you can. And so this little wall that's like right underneath your kitchen window, which this is such like a strange thing. I haven't seen that before. I thought it would be kind of fun to maybe like put out a little countertop there and put some bar stools, but the space looks really small and maybe it wouldn't accommodate for that. So I thought maybe just putting down like a little credenza. I found these two little things on Wayfair and I just think that they're great little like boxes that look super simple and kind of modern, and you can stack them all in different ways to create a shape that's unique to your wall or your space. So I just put two here as like a credenza, and then you could add another plant in here and maybe take some of those photos that were on your wall and put them on this wall. And as you'll see here, I actually used an IKEA silver frame and then I just matted your photo with some yellow matting. And because you love IKEA, I also grabbed like a little blue frame from them and put this lady in there, and I thought that that would just add some more color into your space. So I have a video on this channel if you want to know how to make custom matting for art. So you should definitely go check that out. But I think adding some personalization like that would make your art just pop even more and just make it look intentional, like you really love this piece. And so you've given it a lot of care by deciding on what frame and what matting would really serve it. I also know that you made a comment about the rugs and having it not being an option. I did just want to mention, just in case it was something you wanted to consider, that there are washable rugs out there. It can be like a low-key hassle, I guess, if you have an 8x10 rug to like shove it into a laundry machine or take it to the laundromat, but it is an option. And there's also stuff like Folex out there that really easily cleans stains. We just had someone over who spilled ube ice cream on my rug in my living room, and I used Folex and cleaned it and it was gone. Like that was it. So that's an option. And then also I found like this jute rug. I think Jake Arnold makes this with Lulu in Georgia. It's simple. It's like made of natural materials and it's got a really great color to it. I think it grounds all of the warm tones in your space and it just cools things off in the best way. So that's an option as well. So that's why I put the rug in here. You of course don't have to do that. A lot of companies now have washable rugs, so you don't just have to stick to one company's designs. You can actually find washable rugs on a lot of different websites nowadays. You could use this other angular wall just to add on a clock and maybe like a shelf that holds your mail or your keys. I don't know if you have like a formal entryway, but I think that wall could also be utilized for some like shelving storage, even if it was higher up. So maybe your kid doesn't like grab stuff on there, and the shelving is something you can DIY. I'm not sure how DIY handy you are, but I'm sure you're somewhat DIY handy if you watch this channel. It could also just be like a decorative moment. You could have like a really big piece of art. But yeah, I just think that even doing these small little changes over time will really bring in some more functionality and more personality in your space. I think putting a really big piece of art over in the dining room that's colorful, kind of like this one, would be great. And then bringing in like another plant, so maybe like one of these Dracaena trees. And this one is specifically on Facebook Marketplace for $30. So you could add this over here just to add some more height and variation and texture and color. And then instead of having your piece of art over in the back area, I would maybe swap it out with a big mirror. I feel like that's going to open up the room a lot and just provide more depth. It's going to make it feel like that dining room space is continuing on. So the combination of getting a big piece of art and the new tree and the mirror, these are like small little things that you can purchase over time. You don't have to purchase them all right away. This mirror is from IKEA as well, and I love that it's got like a cobalt blue border around it, but you could even find a mirror like this on Facebook Marketplace and spray paint the border a fun color. The last thing that I added in here that I don't think that you have to do is change out the chairs. The chairs just feel a little bit standard and traditional, and there's nothing wrong with them, absolutely. But I just found these ones on Facebook Marketplace and they were $25 a chair. And I thought they had a really fun frame. They're metal, so they kind of bring in more texture and materiality. And if you had that metal cabinet, I feel like they would feel cohesive together. They're white, so they're bringing in a lot of contrast to that area. And also they have some nice wood tone to them. So you could, refinish these. They look a little bit worn, but I think just doing something like that could be a fun weekend project as well. I think with the bookshelf here, the reason that maybe it's feeling cluttered to you, even though it's clearly organized and clean, is there's just a lot of different shapes and things happening. So I see that you have some boxes there, but they're all different colors. I think if you bought a bunch of boxes that were all the same size and the same color and put everything in them and then put labels on the front so you know where everything goes and what everything is, and they're not clear, they're like solid, that'll look just a lot cleaner. You won't feel like it's as cluttered or as messy, even though it's not messy at all. It would just give the illusion that everything is a little bit more unified and structured. And then over here in the corner, I feel like we have a lot of little things that might be adding to your idea of clutter. Even though everything is very clean and well laid out, you've got a bunch of little pieces of art, and then you've got like this little side table with stuff on top, and then you've got this little IKEA Poang chair where you can see everything underneath because that's how it's designed. It's not like a solid bottom. And then you've got this big lamp here. And so I just feel like even though this looks clean and organized, it could make your brain feel a little bit cluttered just because there's a lot of little things happening versus some more solid statement pieces, if that makes sense. I did take all your photos off the wall and show you how you could maybe disperse them throughout the rest of your space and just put up some like different art that was a little bit bigger and more of a statement, and then also something sculptural like a mirror or something else to just bring some more visual interest to the wall that makes it feel more personality driven. Like you're like, oh my God, I found this great piece at a flea market, or I found it, on an auction online, something that really speaks to you, like a family heirloom. So it really could be anything. I just put these two pieces here as like representatives of like something a little bit more unique than just having a gallery wall there. And then I removed your little storage piece, considering we put the little credenza thing across from it. And I just got one of these like little plinths on Facebook Marketplace. I think it was like, I don't know, $60 or something. This is also something you could easily DIY with wood and paint. And I of course brought in an IKEA lamp. I love this lamp. I have it in my office right now, and I thought you could use that as like a reading lamp. And then I changed out the chair just to show you that swapping out a chair for something a little bit more cozy could make the room feel a little bit less IKEA. There's so many different chairs that you could put in here. I just picked this one because I love the color. I feel like this would really complement your space, and I feel like it grounds that corner because there's no like open legs on the bottom, so you can't really see the back of the corner. So I feel like in this corner you can kind of tell now that there's more substantial, heavier pieces that are taking up a larger amount of area, and despite despite it being a small room, sometimes when you go a little bit bigger, it's kind of an optical illusion. It makes the space feel bigger because it makes it feel like that space can actually hold that big thing. Plus, all these things here kind of feel like they have a purpose. Like I feel like that plinth and that lamp is there just so that you can read and have additional lighting in that chair specifically. It's not doing anything more or less. So I think that's really in the deepest concept of like modernism, is how is this form allowing me to function? It's not so much like form over function. Like this is so beautiful. I care about the way it looks over how it serves me. I think your space is definitely more leaning toward how can these pieces serve me? And then because they serve me so well, they look really nice because they've been placed in that really great spot and they're made of like fantastic materials. It's just a little bit more of like furniture integrity or something. Curtains or drapes have the most impact when they really just are able to spread out on a wall, whether it's across an entire wall or just take up a substantial amount of space and they don't feel cramped. And I think that your curtains here feel just a little bit cramped. They're very squished together in order to let the daylight in. And so I think by incorporating some Roman shades, you could actually make the room feel a little bit more structured and clean and less cluttered, believe it or not. And I would just get something that's like fabric like this, like a creamy linen. And I would probably just paint like the piece of wood that is holding up your AC thing so it blocks out the outdoors. I would probably just paint it white though to like hide it and like let it blend in, I guess, to the rest of the wall. So just find a way to camouflage it. And then I just think, yeah, having the Roman shades there would really just kind of lighten things up and make the room feel a little bit more tight. And it would be easier to work around your AC as well. Because when they're open, they're just gonna kind of feel like valances over the window and not take up any additional space. So I think overall, the main goal here, Melanie, is to make your space feel just a little bit less IKEA and more personalized to your specific taste, whether that means that you're saving up for expensive furniture pieces or you are collecting pieces over time. I think eventually when you get to that point, it's going to feel a little bit more like you. If you ever happen to implement any of the ideas that I talk about in these Living Like LK videos in your home, and maybe you took a before and after photo, I would love to see how it turned out, because I'm thinking about maybe doing a follow-up video to share some real life scenarios of how these ideas and design concepts can be implemented into real everyday homes. So you can either follow me on Instagram and DM me there or send me an email. I'll put all the information in the description below. I still love this water bottle so much. This is the Lark water bottle that tracks like your drinking and tells you how much water you're having and filters your water as well. I'm obsessed with it. I've had it since Christmas now. So I just wanted to give you guys who watch my home updates that I told you about this, that I'm still loving it. But let's move on to our next person. So Meri submitted her living room, and the main issue is that Meri is looking for more seating and goes on to say that we have tried this couch in every configuration, but there's not enough space for walk around. The room is a pass through between the kitchen, bedrooms, and front door. Meri has no budgetary limitations, which is very exciting. The desk and office area will actually be moving, so that nook behind the couch will actually be empty. We're open to getting a slimmer profile couch that has a movable ottoman or other types of modular seating. Meri also goes on to say that the bookcases that she got were from an estate sale and they could recover the couch, but they think they've just come to the conclusion that it's just too big for the space. Our style is essentially your style. We love mid-century modern and leaning into the design of the home, and my sister Lauren and I love watching her videos, so we're super curious what you would do with this space. So thank you so much, Meri. That's super awesome, and I'm excited. So first of all, this house looks really awesome. It looks like a classic mid-century style home. It does seem to be a bit awkward, and of course these older homes are just not designed for modern living, so it always makes a living room so challenging to figure out. First of all, I love the bookcases that you picked up from the estate sale. I think they're super cool. What a great find, but making them fit here is definitely a challenge. I think the couch is unfortunately just too big or not the right shape and size for this space, and the coffee table could be updated. I also do think that moving that desk/office area out of the room is really going to open up some space. So I think the best place to start here is with the seating, because clearly that's like your major concern. And I think I'm in agreement with you that the sofa is just not right for this space. And I just wanted to have a quick aside to say, sometimes we have pieces of furniture that we absolutely love, and then we move into a home and it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't work. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind, because despite how much you love something or you want to make it work, sometimes the only way to make the room work as a whole is to swap out that piece. So I kind of did this drawing where I could show you how the pathways would be a little bit better. The room is still going to probably feel tight depending on what kind of sofas you get and the fact that you want to have a lot of seating. But by opening up that middle way, you can have more areas to walk in. As you can see, the flow here is just a little bit better. And I think it's more feng shui so that you don't feel closed off from the walkways, which are mainly the stairwells here. And I think swapping out the sofa you have now with maybe 2 singular sofas would really open up the walkways in here. So I went to Schoolhouse's website because you said no budget in mind. And every time I think about no budget, I think about that website, because that brand has such great, like simple, cool, interesting, modern pieces that are very pricey. And I was looking at their sofas a while ago because I was thinking about my living room, and I saw this Milo couch that's like inspired by Milo Bauman, however you say his name. He was a really influential, like creative furniture maker and made a lot of unique, iconic chairs. So anyways, I really just like the simplicity of the sofa. I also loved it in the color green because it has just like a really grounding presence, and the material of the green is like a wool, which I think would be so nice for a sofa. I haven't felt it, so you'd obviously have to like order samples if you were actually interested in getting this specific sofa, but this is just kind of what I was thinking. And I wanted to put 2 in here so that they are parallel with each other and that they're also parallel with this media unit. I do love like the formality sometimes of like 2 parallel sofas. I think it's like a really refined look, and I think it's also a really easy way to lay down and watch TV, honestly. And then I think also adding in like an ottoman over here could be additional seating if you had friends and family over. You could also add in like a little stool as like a side table, or also additional seating if needed. And then just adding in like a really cool kind of iconic rectangular coffee table in the middle. I love like having this pop of reddish orange. I think that would be really fun in here and kind of liven up the space. So I think this kind of look was really fun to me, and I think it would really open up your walkways. This is a version of modular seating because not everything is connected, and you can always move the ottoman or stools around if needed. And you could move these like singular sofas somewhere else if needed, especially into like another home. I also think adding in like a really big rug in there would be great. And I love this kind of teal color with green and this like neon orange. I think it's a really fun combination. I think even adding in the navy blue, it all just looks very cohesive to me. And it's a very good like value spectrum of like lighter blue and darker blue and blue that kind of moves into a greenish tone. And then you've got like the complementary orange in there, which really is just, you know, a pop of fun. And so I really like this vibe, and I probably would live in this living room, honestly. But what would really sell this whole like layout, I think, is the media unit that you're kind of creating by having the 2 bookshelves on either side of the TV, and then also like the little cabinet below. I think the cabinet below is like not substantial enough to kind of give that media unit vibe. If anything, I feel like it would need to be like on the floor and a little bit taller. And I would put the big bookcase that you have over in the nook over on the other side of the TV, and we can move the other skinnier one over to the nook, and I'll show you in a minute how I envision that. But now having 2 of the same size bookshelves on each side of the TV with like a more substantial cabinet below the TV makes it feel more like a media unit and makes it feel more of like a focal point in a moment. And it's adding a lot of symmetry in here. And I imagine that those bookcases would be aligned with the sofas and that the coffee table would be right smack dab in the middle of the TV. So I think that would look really nice. When it comes to the cords for the TV, you could also just put them in one of those like cord hiders off to the left, and then like put like a sculptural item in front of them to hide the cord so that it looks like it's just floating there really nicely. I don't know what this thing is on the bottom of your flooring. It kind of looks like it's a radiator or something like that. And I noticed some other pieces of furniture were covering it up. So I'm assuming that you could cover it up with a bigger, you know, cabinet below the TV, but I don't know. That's just my assumption. Okay, and then when we turn over to this like nook area, I love that this is a nook area. I think it's super cute and feels like an old home would have this. And I love that there's like a wrought iron railing right there. I envision actually having the bookshelf, the skinnier one, to the left of the window, and then having some kind of like bar set up there. And even if you guys are not like big alcohol drinkers, I think having a bar set up is so fun because you can do food prep there. You can put out snacks. You don't have to have it center around alcohol, but it also provides additional storage storage. I also included 2 little mid-century bar stools that I found on Cherish. I found this bar on Cherish as well. And then like putting a lamp up here, maybe with like a rechargeable bulb or something. And then I found like maybe some cool big sculptural convex mirror behind it, which just be super fun and super mid-century and modern. And I think that this would be a really fun vibe in here. And it kind of gives that whole little nook area its own purpose. It's got a cute bookshelf. You could store, you know, your cool cocktail glasses in there if that was your vibe, or just some like fun things. You could have your plants over there. Just make it like really fun and statement-y, especially since you didn't express that you have real specific needs around like storage or function. Originally, when I saw this, I was like, I don't know, you might have to get rid of these bookshelves because I don't think they're gonna fit, but I really do think it would fit from the photos. I don't know. I hope that this layout would work. And if you do end up doing something like this, definitely let me know and send me a photo because I'd love to see it. I think this room is just gonna feel super vibey and fun for lounging and watching TV if it was set up like this. Going with something more classic and traditional when it comes to your sofa is really great for being able to take it to other homes in the future if that's a thing, or reupholstering it, or just having it being a grounding piece in a room where it's otherwise very stylized. So Meri, let me know what you think of this room and this layout, if this might help. I hope it does. And if you have any thoughts for Meri, then definitely leave them in the comments below, as long as they're nice and as long as they're constructive. If any of the concepts I went over in today's video gave you some ideas or made you change your perspective on your current space, then don't forget to hit the like button to tell YouTube that this video is worth sharing, because when I hit 85K, I will be back for part 5. But if you want to see these videos more often, then maybe you should tell your friends and family to subscribe so we can get to 85K faster. And if you want to see your room featured in a future video, then make sure you fill out the submission form linked in the description below. So big thanks to everyone who submitted their homes and opened up their spaces so that we could learn and get inspired. Other than that, I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.